So today we're going to start with implied needs versus explicit needs.
Implied needs, explicit needs.
Yes. So what, we were talking about yesterday about persuasion. How persuasion is taking someone from one place to another place through a series of questions, right? And part of that journey is finding implied needs and turning them to explicit needs. We're going to demonstrate this with an example, right? So you've got a car. You buy a new car, or you've got a car, right? After a while, when you first bought it, you're happy with it. That's why you bought it, right?
Yeah.
And then it starts to get some scratches. Right? Okay, it's got some scratches now. You might have maybe a few bumps. Right? Yeah, dents are good.
Or chips in the
Chips, yeah, dents, all that stuff. It's not so fuel efficient. Fuel costs rising. You're starting to spend more and more money on fuel. And then it breaks down, right? Now these are all implied needs, right? Which essentially boil down to what I like to call complaining. Right? In order to sell anything or to persuade someone of something, firstly you need to find these implied needs. What are the problems? What could they potentially complain about if they were so motivated to do so? You need to write this down, just concentrate. It's all going to be on video.
It just helps to remember.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, well you can rewatch it if you want to remember, but just try to understand.
Yeah.
Okay, because you can go back over the videos to refresh your memory, right? So if I'm trying to sell someone a car, and I've actually had this happen to me, right? This happened exactly to me with a friend. And he was trying to sell me a car. He was just going, he's asking me, he's going, oh yeah, he's got a few scratches on your car. I'm like, yeah, there are. Oh, so what's the fuel efficiency? It's okay. Does it break down? No, not really. And, well actually it wasn't so much about my car, it was about buying a new car. A used car versus a new car, right?
Okay. So he was convincing you to actually buy a new car?
Yes, he was trying to convince me to buy a new car rather than an old car, right? So he's not a salesman. There's not a sales bone in his body. But he's asking all the right questions. He's making the case for it. He's going, an old car has all of these things. Well, he's asking me, don't you think an old car has this, that? Yes, etc. Right? So then he started going, okay, let's look at a new car, right? And the trick is to get someone from implied needs to explicit needs. So firstly, what are explicit needs? Explicit needs are like, main thing about explicit needs is I need a new car, right? I want to get rid of my old car, need a new car. And it's got to be fuel efficient, reliable, large enough to say carry kids, for example. Okay? Now the difference between implied and explicit is these are a statement of action, right? It's action. Because this implied, like these things, it's like someone that says this, I need a new car and I need it to be this. They're talking about action, right? This person is just complaining. I've got this and that's complaining, right? And you've got to be able to tell the difference because customers could be they could be just complaining or they could be ready for action. But your goal is to find these problems and turn them into these
solutions.
Yeah. Not necessarily solutions, but you want them to go from implied needs to explicit. You tell me whether it's explicit or implicit. Implicit, explicit. Complaining or action.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm spending too much on postage each month.
Implied.
Correct. I'd like a way to cut my postage costs.
Explicit.
I'm looking for help to do a better job forecasting our sales.
Explicit.
I'm worried about increasing competition from other contractors.
Implied.
My car has been needing a lot of expensive repairs lately.
Implied.
I need a low maintenance car.
Explicit.
Ideally, if we had the right equipment, we'd be able to reproduce documents in full color.
Explicit.
Explicit.
Our patients are complaining about having to wait an hour after they check in at the desk,
Implied.
and some have stopped coming. Implied. We really need each team member to be able to send messages automatically to every other team member in the field.
Explicit.
Our communication systems aren't as flexible as I'd like.
Implied.
Alright, perfect. So look, it's a bit academic, but you need to know, this is kind of foundation knowledge for what we're now going to go to. So getting someone from here to here is spin. Spin is a very well-known methodology. You may have heard. It's kind of a foundation piece of modern sales. Highly recommended to read that, but you don't need to read it because I'm going to break it down into half an hour section. It is a set of questions. It's a methodology, right? It's a set of questions that take you from implied needs to explicit needs, right? Yeah. Essentially. It does more than that, but that's essentially what we're going to do. And you just need to know the lingo. For why we went through implied and explicit needs was just so you understand it when I use the terms here. Implication and needs payoff. You know how we talked about yesterday, we're doing that exercise? How do you convince Melita to go ice skating? Through questions. That is spin. As opposed to telling,
No.
you want a way of asking the right questions. So she comes to the conclusion herself, hey, you know what? Actually, I do want to go ice skating, right? And that's the art,
Awesome.
right? And even though this is a framework, it's not like, step 1, 2, 3, 3, and Melita will go ice skating. It doesn't work like that, right? It's just guidelines and a framework. So situation questions. Okay, so situation questions. Oh, let's give you an example. Sorry, example. Right. How old is your car? Right. Situation question is the background and the facts necessary. Now, in a sales situation, these are also an opportunity to show you know the area. You know your industry, right?
Yeah.
So instead of asking questions like, oh, how long has your company been running? Well, who cares,
Exactly.
right? Well, you might care, but it's not. You might say, well, how are you responding to the new trend moving away from blah to social media? I don't know. But you've got to show that you understand the trends, you understand the industry.
Yeah, up with the times, you're educated
All of that,
on
right?
all that.
So there's still questions about their company. Right? But it's phrased in a way where you look good. Situation questions. Is that one?
Oh my god, it's outside.
So situation questions. Well, let's go through the car example before we go.
Yeah.
Alright, so what's the problem question? Has your car broken down recently? Question mark. Yeah. The implication is, would you get fired if you were late for work? Right. And then the needs payoff is, how important is being on time to meetings? Or would you feel better that your spouse, or let's say wife, husband, was driving a safer car? Let me quickly go through that. Situation, how is your car? If they just bought it, well, this whole line of questioning is a waste of time, right?
Yeah,
so you
that's
need
right.
situation to get to that problem. When you ask a problem question, you're trying to uncover what?
Their pain.
Implied needs.
Oh, implied needs.
Yeah,
Sorry.
implied needs.
Yeah.
Has your car broken down recently? If they say no, well then you've got to ask other questions that you want to get implied needs. Has it got scratches? Has it got? Is it fuel efficient? All of that stuff, right? Has your car broken down recently? If they say yes, then you go, oh, all right, it has broken down recently. So, what would happen if is your work understanding about you being late if your car were to break down?
Yeah.
So you start to make the problem bigger. It's like, what are the implications of this? What's the worst case scenario? Right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then you move to needs payoff. Needs payoff is, what's it worth to you to solve the problem?
Yeah.
Right? If I could solve this problem, what would it enable you to do? Not just directly, but indirectly. What are the other benefits you would have by getting a new car?
Yeah.
So this is like negative, more negative, and then positive, right? So it's like do you have a problem, or no, I think it's actually a lot bigger than you think it is.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, okay, if you did solve it, what would it give you? What benefits would you get? Okay. Right, so